This video is sponsored by Squarespace. In 2023, each and every F1 team has a budget cap of $135 million a year. It's designed to control costs directly related to car performance, but marketing, driver salaries, travel, those kind of costs are not included in the cap. So let's chuck a generous, say, $200 million per season, which is what every team is spending, all told right now in Formula 1. Now, let's wind the clock back to 2008. Obama had just become president, Gaga had just dropped Poker Face, and Formula 1 teams were spending much more than they are nowadays. Things were out of control, and then the financial crisis brought it all crashing down. 2008 was crazy. Let's talk about it. I want to go through all 11 teams in reverse expenditure order, cheapest first. I'll keep a tab relative to the amount of points they scored relative to that spend as well, to see kind of how efficient they ended up. Big shout out to RaceFans, by the way, who put together this super helpful article 15 years ago now. Link below, although it will include spoilers for this video. I want to bear in mind all these figures are inflation adjusted. 15 years is a long time, turns out, in finance. So let's start with the Honda powered Super Aguri team, a team that didn't last very long in 2008, unfortunately, and is an outlier in this list because they spent hardly anything. Just 64.25 million spent in 2008, a proper backmarker. They only ever scored 4 points over 3 seasons of existence in Formula 1. 2008 was not one of those years. Takuma Sato, Anthony Davidson at the wheel. In part, the lack of points was because the car was slow, but mainly it was because they pulled out after 4 races. On the 6th of May 2008, just 5 days before the Turkish Grand Prix, team founder and ex-F1 driver Aguri Suzuki announced the team dream was over, and the team entered administration just 1 day later. Their Leafield base in the UK would eventually become the Caterham F1 base, an equally unsuccessful tale. You've got hiccups. You've got hiccups, mate. I actually went to the now abandoned factory in 2021. It was a proper sad sight. Vandalism in the UK for no reason is just depressing. 2008 was the first of many great years for the Force India Formula 1 team. Vijay Mallya had just purchased Spiker at the end of 2007, rebranding to the cult hero team that we all know and love. Come on, you can't not love Force India. The same team that 15 years later has now developed the second best car in Formula 1, because they're currently the Aston Martin, aren't they? 171.69 million spent, not cheap, especially when they scored 0 points as well, 0 return on that investment. From a points point of view, however, it was their first season in Formula 1. You can understand not immediately getting that return of investment. It wasn't like they were inheriting a decent Spiker team. Spiker were rubbish. And as we'll see on this list, this 171 figure is significantly less than so many other teams on this list, I assure you. That's Sutil and Fisichella at the wheel this season. They actually got close with Giancarlo, P10 in Spain, but back in 2008, only the top 8 scored points. Shame. Toro Rosso and 2008 will forever be synonymous with one particular moment. Around Monza, in the hands of a 21-year and 74-day-old Sebastian Vettel, he became the youngest Formula 1 race winner in history at the time. Max Verstappen's taken that record since. Now, that was in part a one-off, but Vettel was getting that car in points at a consistency way above his teammate Sebastian Bourdais. A P4, 3 P5s and a couple of P6s to boot, 39 points in total for Toro Rosso. In fact, they actually outscored Red Bull by 10 points this season. Toro Rosso scored more than Red Bull in 2008. $180.63 million spent, a nice, efficient $4.63 million per point. Not bad. Actually, let's take this opportunity to talk about something that's not quite so expensive. Because with the help of today's video sponsor, Squarespace, you can build your very own beautiful online home portfolio, blog, e-commerce website. They've got you sorted for a super low monthly fee, but the best thing of all is that you can try it out completely free of charge. Thousands of beautiful drag and drop templates. I've been using Squarespace for many years. Long-term supporters of me and what I do on this YouTube channel. So if you are interested, head to squarespace.com/TommoF1 to get 10% off of your first website or domain. It's free to try. There's literally nothing to lose. Let's get back to the video. Williams came out the gates flying in 2008, securing a P3 and P6 with their drivers Nico Rosberg and Kazuki Nakajima. Yet they only went to score 17 more points all season. Don't fall, Minton. 45 million more spent by Williams than Toro Rosso, a significant enough jump up to score 13 fewer points by the end of the season. These years were just super inconsistent from the team from Grove that actually scored P4 in the championship the year prior. That was the perfect place for Nico Rosberg to showcase what he could do before he got eventually that Mercedes call up in 2010. Like I already spoiled, Toro Rosso did outscore Red Bull in 2008, but Red Bull themselves had their moments. Coulthard managed a P3 in Canada himself. Look, both teams were consistently inconsistent throughout the season. But then again, at the time, you had Minardi, Jaguar DNA still rife in both of those teams. It was a while before they could turn things around. In 2008, they could not have surely even dreamt in their wildest expectations to go on and achieve what they did from 2009, let's be real, onwards. Insane. And look where they are today, top of the pile. We're getting into the big numbers now, so I'm going to put Minton down because no dog should listen to the numbers we're about to discuss. It's just too obnoxious. We've comfortably over double the budget of Red Bull. A BMW affiliated Sauber is next on this list. They brought a serious car in 2008 with some serious drivers. $516.82 million inflation adjusted spent by this team. Madness. That's almost 4 times the current budget cap on its own. And you got to say, this kind of is the one that got away from Sauber. If a few decisions had been made differently, we could have seen a Sauber driver winning a championship. Robert Kubica finished the 2008 season in P4, 23 points behind champion Lewis Hamilton, but that does not tell the full story at all. After the BMW Sauber 1-2 at the Canadian Grand Prix round 7 of 19, Kubica was leading the championship, 42 points ahead of Massa and Hamilton, both on 38. Yet it was after this amazing result that the higher-ups at BMW/Sauber had the incredible idea to shift all resource to 2009 and bun off the 2008 season, because maybe in their heads they were like, oh, our car's good enough to just walk the rest of the season because we're leading by this point. What were they doing? Fundamentally idiotic decision. Yes, of course, there was a huge regulation shift coming for 2009, but to just give up on your 2008 car in such a strong position, and their 2009 car was rubbish anyway, so it wasn't even worth it. Kubica was pissed off at the time, understandably, and he's one that got away. Obviously, after his horrific accident, he was never going to be able to hit the levels that he was showcasing, but my goodness, Robert Kubica, serious driver back in his day, well overlooked. Renault was splashing big in 2008. $555 million spent. Bam. But of course they didn't do anything with it because it's Renault. They got just 80 points all season. That did include 2 race wins, the latter being Fuji, where Alonso capitalised on a big opportunity but delivered where he needed to, and then Singapore, which was not controversial in any way, shape or form, was it? That was the cheated one. Fernando kept that win, so really they should have less than 80 points because they cheated. Okay, but in terms of car performance, they actually started the season definitely weaker than the Sauber, but ended it probably a bit quicker. Again, Sauber gave up on car development, Renault kept on going and had the quicker package by the end. From the kind of financial point of view, again, if Crashgate had come out that season, well, ING Bank, who were their title sponsor in 2008, and 2009, who eventually pulled out when all the dirt came out in the washing, they would have pulled out sooner. I'm pretty confident ING was stumping up a significant chunk of that budget, so that would have hurt the team. But ultimately, it would have been very Renault and it would have been very mid. Please, Renault, stop being so annoyingly average. Be good. Allez le bleu. Here we go. Honda. Honda. What are you playing at, Honda? Why are you so silly? They're coming back into F1 now, supplying Aston Martin engines, but they already had a deal with Red Bull, who've got like the quickest car, and they were like, you know what, we're out. Oh wait, no, we're coming back again. Oh no, this team, man, this manufacturer annoys me. I love a good Honda, a classic Integra DC2, love it. NSX, classic Civic, mate, all over it. But in F1, they piss me off, man. Look, 560.92 million spent, 14 points. 14! That's over 40 million per point. Now, of course, was a lot of that resource going towards the 2009 car? Fine. I could somewhat understand, okay, maybe 2008, you kind of give up on that. Yeah, let it go. We'll put it into 2009 and we'll hit the ground running. And it worked. It worked because that 2009 Honda won the championship. They built a brilliant car, but it didn't have a Honda badge on it because they were like, this we're out. They paid all of the money for the car. Braun didn't even have money to develop the car in 2009. The car was there. Honda could have just been like, you know what, we're going to put no budget into 2009, and they still would have won the championship with Button in the car. It's just, Hindsight's a beautiful thing, I know, but my goodness. Look, this is a perfect time to talk about why 2008 is the year I picked for this, because it wasn't just the team spending a lot of money, it was the world at the time. It was a financial bubble that burst in 2008. The irresponsibility of spending in Formula One and advertising was ridiculous, and it would bite everyone on the back. Does anyone remember, I'm sure some of you do, the images of Lehman Brothers bankers walking out with their little cardboard boxes of stuff because all the markets had themselves? That was on September 15th, 2008. The knock-on effect from that was 81 days later, on the 5th of December 2008, Honda announced their immediate withdrawal from Formula One. Difficult to justify throwing more than $500 million at a team that finishes ninth when everyone's losing their jobs, I suppose. What a shame they couldn't see it through. Just imagine how appalling it would have been if Brawn hadn't come along and saved that team, and that incredible car that they'd developed was just forgotten. It'd never have seen the light of day. But yeah, Honda are coming back again by the looks of it in F1, so good luck with that one, Aston Martin. From the chronic disappointment of Honda to the title challenger, Ferrari. 2008, Ferrari were really good. Very quick car in very capable hands of Felipe Massa, who came so close, as we all know, to winning that 2008 world title. Final corner, final lap, Lewis Hamilton past Timo Glock to take it. Now, if things had gone many things over the course of that season, if they'd gone slightly differently, it could have gone either way. It could have gone either way for sure. And at least Kimi Raikkonen's consistency in the other Ferrari meant Ferrari did at least take the Constructors' Championship, their most recent Constructors' Championship to date. Most efficient budget as well so far. $584.6 million spent, $3.4 million per point. Grazie ragazzi, well done Ferrari. Although even in all of that stuff, it still took a dodgy fuel line hose being attached when Felipe pulled out the pits. It still took a Ferrari blunder, really, let's be honest, to derail his championship chances. But that's motor racing sometimes, isn't it? That's Ferrari sometimes as well, isn't it? Yeah, Charles, if you're watching, It's Monaco this weekend, and good luck, lad. Good luck. You're going to need it. The $600 million barrier has been passed 4.5 times the current budget cap, excluding other expenses. Again, if we're going to think 200 million, that's 3 times the current budget cap. Which is great. 3 entire times what is currently being spent. That's so much. But then to be fair, take a look at the 2008 McLaren, all the 2008 cars to be fair as well. The intricacy of aero on these cars is disgustingly detailed, which makes them pretty ugly. The amount of dirty air must have been insane in 2008. Absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, ahead of 2008, obviously we saw lots of movement at McLaren because of Spygate in 2007. You also had Alonso leaving, going back to Renault because that relationship obviously didn't last. A young Heikki Kovalainen was drafted in for 2008, although he didn't do very well. Considering Lewis won the title, Heikki only won once and got on the podium 2 other times. Second in the Constructors as well. Did you know the last time McLaren won a Constructors' Championship was 1998? It's been a long time. Often the bridesmaid, never the bride. Although their car for Monaco, Triple Crown livery they've got, that needs a Peggy 18 on it, mate. That is stunning. So then we finally have the biggest spenders of them all. $627.85 million, inflation adjusted, is spent in 2008. Toyota, man. Toyota. All to finish P5 with just 56 points on the board, $11.21 million bloody dollars per point, man. Didn't even win a race, 1 P3, 1 P2 to their name all season. Nowhere near as inefficient as Honda, but that's nothing to write home about, is it? Let's be honest, there's nothing to take credit for. They had Jarno Trulli and reigning GP2 champion Timo Glock in the car. Obviously that name is synonymous with, is that Glock? Because it was Glock who, Lewis passed on the final corner of the final lap to take the championship. That is about as much airtime as that Toyota ever gets, which is a shame because, the livery was a banger. In terms of a livery competition, Toyota, well done, money well spent. Finishing P5 in the Constructors was technically an improvement from P6 the year prior. Whoop-de-doo, well done. Toro Rosso spent about 3.5 times less than Toyota and only finished 1 position behind them. It's a catastrophic L by every conceivable measure. So in total, we've got 11 Formula One teams spending $4.33 billion. That's comfortably over double what we're seeing from F1 teams these days. And that's, again, assuming 200 million each spend, cost cap and non-cost cap, which is probably a high estimate anyway. All this money going into a sport that at the time did not have anywhere near the scope, the scale, the value, surely, to advertisers that it does today in 2023. I'm not just talking TV figures and bums on seat at the track. I'm talking social media. I'm talking YouTube. I'm talking the drivers being allowed to express themselves because Bernie's not like ringing them up at 3 a.m. saying, stop posting on MySpace. Okay, maybe that didn't happen. Or maybe it did. I don't know. The reach is so much bigger now. And we've lost so many like cool sponsors. I mean, you had Panasonic on the Toyota. You had Vodafone on the McLaren. You had RBS and Lenovo on the Williams. Now we've just got e-cigarettes. Crypto. Security technology companies. Like, it just feels a bit stale these days in comparison. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Do you agree? Again, we had 2 big casualties during this season. Super Aguri during the season, Honda at the end of it as well. And it wasn't long till BMW and Toyota pulled out at the end of 2009, the year after. The impacts of the 2008 financial crisis lingered as well. Like, it wasn't just like things recovered after 2008. In fact, for 2010, the FIA did put together their own budget cap. The idea was that all the teams would have a budget cap of just £40 million, which translated to dollars and then adjusted for inflation is about $86 million. Just over half the cap we've got at the minute, although that would not include engine development money. It wasn't a million miles off what we've got at the minute. The big difference was that it was optional, which is mad. Teams operating within the cap would get extra use of, like, you know, they could adjust their front rear wings, they could rev their engines higher, they could do unlimited testing, which were benefits not afforded to anyone running outside of the cap. Now, that would have been mad confusing, mad difficult to police. Fortunately, there was an agreement raised and, there wasn't that budget cap as such. But they realised, I think, that this sport had been running disgustingly expensive for too long. It's still disgustingly expensive, don't get me wrong, but within means, right? So in terms of total efficiency, yes, Ferrari are the winners. Well done, Ferrari. 3.4 million spent per point. You've got Force India at the very bottom with nil points, Super Aguri, nil points as well. But Honda, surely, Honda, man, Honda. What were you doing? What were you playing at? To not even reap the rewards in 2009. But at the end of the day, Braun was an amazing story, so I'm not that upset about it. As always, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'll see you down there. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. My name's Tommo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da!